The general used a piece of meat to trick these slaves into the enemy's trap. It wasn't until they reached the depths of the canyon that they realized the danger. With their developed hearing, the slaves sensed that a group of unknown creatures was rapidly approaching them, but they didn't dare flee because they would be whipped by their master. At this time, those creatures were also getting closer and closer to them. The violent buffalo herd instantly scattered the crowd. To survive, the slaves all ran back. Some slaves even wanted to climb up the hillside to avoid the buffalo's impact, but the general didn't give them any way to survive. Everyone was not allowed to leave the canyon even half a step, because the buffalo herd was the advanced troops sent by the enemy army. There were still thousands of wild buffalo behind that needed the slaves to lure out. In such a desperate situation, the slave Jimmy appeared unusually calm. With his extremely fast speed, he could freely shuttle through the buffalo herd and wasn't afraid of being trampled to death at all. He even rescued his master, who abused him daily in this extremely chaotic situation, showing how loyal he was. Jimmy thought he could survive after avoiding the buffalo's impact, but unexpectedly they couldn't avoid the general's cold arrow. Fortunately, the master blocked this arrow. Jimmy could only continue running around the cliff wall. A slave's entire life was originally lived on his knees, but as he kept running, Jimmy actually stood up. At this moment, his speed also broke through again, and he quickly ran to the front of the buffalo herd. Because this was a horseshoe-shaped canyon, the buffalo herd was led by Jimmy to run back. At this time, the enemy army still thought the buffalo herd had already achieved victory, but the next second, Jimmy led the wild buffalo and charged into the crowd. After the buffalo's collision, half of the 20,000 enemy soldiers were dead or wounded. The general then led his soldiers following behind the buffalo herd, and finally came to clean up the mess, effortlessly winning this battle. Jimmy was the only slave who survived. The general admired his speed and wanted to be his new master. After burying his former master, Jimmy readily agreed, because following the general, he would have meat to eat. Before the general could be happy for long, his subordinate brought bad news. The northern duke had rebelled and led a large army to surround the royal city. The general needed to go back to save the king. Since Jimmy was faster, the general planned to have Jimmy wear his armor to impersonate him. This way, he could not only save the king, but also get all the credit. However, this would be the most wrong decision of his life. When Jimmy arrived at the royal palace, he unexpectedly killed the king directly and saved the weaponless queen, because the general had told him, "Zrania, those without weapons in their hands were the king."